Hey everybody, my name is Russ. That is Lauren. Welcome to our Thursday music discussion video. And for me, 1991 is one of those years in music that just gets like so much praise and deservedly so.
Sure.
There's that list that goes around of all those insane albums that were released over the course of like I think the 45 days or something in 91. But there was a monster amount of stuff that came out in 90, 92, 93, like all through the 90s. So I thought maybe we'd go back to the beginning and put the spotlight on some awesome singles that came out in 1990 because uh with all the focus that gets put on 91, I feel like a ton of people forget these awesome songs.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I
That
mean, I'm looking at your list and I'm like, I forgot some of these awesome songs.
Yeah, I mean, they're like to kick things off, "Escapade" by Janet Jackson, the Rhythm Nation record. Um, the title track itself is like very dark. The imagery for the whole album is very dark. Um, Even I would even go so far as to say the "Miss You Much" has a dark sound to it, but people forget that "Escapade" and "Love Will Never Do Without You" are on that record,
Huh.
and they're very different than
Okay.
the rest of it. And I think Escapade to me sounds like when I first heard it, I don't know, it sounded like a song that was like 15 years old at that time. Do you know what I mean? And I mean that
Yeah.
in a good way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you know. But I mean, it came out right at the beginning of the year as a single in the first week of January. It ended up hitting number one, which is awesome. And like the Rhythm Nation album didn't need any help from more hit singles at the time,
Hmm.
but like I think no one was expecting. Like I owned the album already at the time,
Yeah.
and I hadn't listened close enough to it to where I even realized that that was going to be a song that would get picked for a single, or maybe it was just because it sounded so different from the rest of the record that I didn't expect it to ever get picked for a single.
Yeah, you tend to think that like a single should kind of be indicative of what everything else sounds like, and yeah, it definitely feels like,
Yeah, and
huh.
it doesn't. Yeah. Um, the next one on the list, I think it's at least it's the song that got me into this band, and they're just an incredible group. And for me, "Enjoy the Silence" by Depeche Mode is a song that I'm not at all saying people have forgotten this song or anything, but I don't think anyone realizes exactly when it was such a big, huge hit
Yeah.
single.
This song is absolutely lost in time for me.
Oh yeah, yeah. It came out as a single. It was released in the first week of February of 1990. It ended up being a top 10 single, but I would say at the time, even it was underrated for how good of a song it is. Like
Mhm.
I thought, would have thought for sure that that was an automatic number one. And it's a lot more polished sounding than the earlier Depeche Mode stuff that people would have already known at that time. Um, but it also should be at that point in their career, you know.
Mhm.
But they were, I mean, I know a lot. I know people who knew of them before, but I had never heard of them until this song was a single, and then it just blew me away. And I've loved so much stuff that they've done since then. So for me, "Enjoy the Silence" counts as a massive single from that year for sure. The next one is probably the most. Their Digital Underground is not a novelty act, but I would say that many people regard the Humpty Dance as a novelty song.
I just don't think they're taking their Humpty dancing seriously enough.
Yeah, that's true. But released in the last week of January, it just missed the top 10. It's a record that ended up being hitting number 11. And at the time, rap was really going through a lot of changes. Like gangster rap had hit when a couple of years prior. Um, Not so much gangster rap, but more political based rap, like from Public Enemy, had become a thing. Um, and the rise of West Coast rap, like with Dre and whatnot, Dre going solo, hadn't really happened yet. And the Humpty Dance was just so different than anything else that was going on rap at the time.
Sure.
And I think that there were a lot of like Rodney Dangerfield had a rap single for crying out loud in the 80s. And I feel like anything that wasn't a serious rap song at that time was more looked at like, oh, this is kind of a joke, and the imagery and everything too. In the video, the Groucho Marx glasses on, and but I would argue that the song, well, first of all, the production of the song is great, the bass
Hmm.
line is awesome, but I would argue, even though it's like a quote silly subject, I think the rhyme schemes are great too.
Yeah.
Like it's a great great single. And I think it's one of those things that, especially with pretty much once the Dre put the Chronic out, people act like Straight Outta Compton came out, then Dre went solo, and there was nothing in between.
Right. Yeah. No, I appreciate this. I firmly believe that well, not every, this is not going to be the blanket statement I want it to be, but I think it's helpful for different genres of music to have something that's just accessible like this is, you know, and I don't think that kind of thing should be discounted.
No, I don't either. Yeah, and I could be wrong. I mean, let me know what you think. I know we always love the comment section. Anyway, so like if I have a misconception of this, but I just remember it at the time, like a lot of people not taking it very seriously, and I think it's a great serious song. The next one on the list is in many ways the first solo hit for John Bon Jovi, but a lot of people don't even think of it as a John Bon Jovi song. Yeah, it was so the song Blaze of Glory has origins in when Young Guns 2 was being filmed. They reached out, they asked Bon Jovi if they could use Wanted Dead or Alive for it.
Sure.
And Wanted Dead or Alive is I mean, obviously it's got a Western theme to it, but that is very much a road song. It's a it's a turn the page type song. It's about a very specific thing. So John was kind of like, well, why don't I just write another Wanted Dead or Alive, but specific to
about the
what's going on in this film instead of Wanted Dead or Alive. So he ended up doing a solo record that, I mean, it's not just because of John's voice, though. It sounds like a Bon Jovi album, you know. Which in the future I need to cover. He has another solo record called Destination Anywhere that sounds completely different than Bon Jovi, and it's fantastic. But anyways, with this song, and I'm sure a lot of people will be like, you're crazy. I like Blaze of Glory better than Wanted Dead or Alive anyways.
So I mean, this ages me a little bit, you know, but like 1990, I was a kid. Okay. For the longest time of my life, I didn't realize there were two different songs.
Oh, Wanted and
I was just like, oh, this is the cowboy one.
Yeah, well, I mean, they both have the same thing. Like, for example, Wanted has that the downscaling guitar, and Blaze of Glory's got that like you know, it's not exactly the same, but it's still it's like
it's very yeah.
And they both on purpose have a very Western sound to them. But I just feel strongly that Blaze of Glory is the better of the two songs. I just really, really, really like that song. We'll play them back to back.
Yeah, it's a fun. I mean, it's a fun song.
Yeah. The last one, and this is one that I don't think anybody, if you wake any music fan up in the middle of the night and you go, hey, when did this song come out? They'll be like, no one will give you a right answer to this. Epic by Faith No More, which as a single came out in January of 1990. And, you know, I've talked to you about this a great deal about Faith No More, I think, gets criminally overlooked for their part in rock, rap, or whatever you want to call the genre. Because I've talked to people before about it unquestionably started with the marriage of Run DMC and Aerosmith and Walk This Way. But then people will act like we just skipped from there to Rage Against the Machine and then from there to like Limp Bizkit and whatnot. And it's like Faith No More needs to clear their throat real loud in that discussion, you know?
Yeah.
Now, Faith No More does a lot of different genres. So they're not just, quote, just a rock rap band, but Epic is, there's no two ways about it. It's a rap rock song.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And this is a song that kicked off a big love for Faith No More for me in the 90s. Like I got to see them open for Metallica and Guns N' Roses when they were supporting, well, Metallica was touring for the Black Album, GNR was touring for Use Your Illusion, but Faith No More was touring for the album after this one, a record called Angel Dust, which is incredible. So, but it all goes back to that. And there were other hits off of this record too. From Out of Nowhere was a minor hit. More of a traditional type song was, I have the chorus of the song stuck in my head, Falling to Pieces. Sorry. But Epic is like such a big deal. I would never go so far as to say you wouldn't have Rage Against the Machine if it wasn't for Epic and Faith No More, because they were released so closely together anyways. But I think it's a chapter of the story that needs to be talked about more.
Yeah.
you know. And I just love even these 5 songs that I listed. The diversity is just ridiculous in
Yeah,
in those 5
crazy.
songs, you know. And you and I have talked a lot before about like how I ended up being the music fan that I am, and it's because of years like 1990. So we are going to cover in a future video very soon some incredible albums from the same year as well. If this is your first time with us and you've never been on the channel before for any reason, we have reaction videos on the weekend. We have vinyl videos on the weekend. We always take suggestions for videos. So if you have anything that you want us to cover, drop a comment with that. But to us, what matters more than anything is the discussion. So if you have thoughts on these singles from 1990, or if you're raring to go already for the albums from 1990, that video will be coming up soon. That is Lauren. My name is Russ. As we always say, thank you so much for watching.